Do you feel it, warrior? That silent war raging behind your eyes. It's not the noise of the world that's breaking you. It's the relentless, deafening chaos inside your own skull. It's the feeling of having 100 browser tabs open in your mind, all at once, all demanding your attention. You're replaying a conversation from 3 days ago, pre-grieving a disaster that will never happen, and analyzing the perfect way to phrase a 2-sentence email for the last 45 minutes. Your body is here in this moment, but your mind is a fugitive, lost in a labyrinth of what-ifs and should-haves. This isn't thinking. This is a prison, and you, its only inmate, are also its architect. Look around you. The room is quiet. The only light is the cold blue glow of a screen. But inside your head, it's a battlefield. This is the modern tyranny, the illusion of peace, while your mind is being torn apart by 1,000 invisible cuts. You scroll, you binge, you seek any distraction, not for pleasure, but for a moment of silence from the relentless narrator in your head, the inner critic that has seized control. It's a parasite that feeds on your potential, draining your energy, turning your greatest weapon, your intellect, into a self-torture device. You are sharp, you are capable, but your own mind has become your most cunning and ruthless enemy. And it whispers a lie, doesn't it? A seductive, poisonous lie that sounds like wisdom. It tells you, this is productive. This worry is a shield. If you analyze every possible failure, you can control the outcome. If you stop thinking, you'll be caught unprepared. So you obey. You mistake this grinding anxiety for due diligence. You mistake this paralysis for preparation. But this voice isn't a guardian. It's a saboteur. It promises you control and delivers only chains. It promises you safety and builds you a cage, bar by agonizing bar, with every thought you allow it to command. What if I told you there is a code? An ancient, brutalist toolkit forged not in quiet libraries, but in the blood and chaos of Roman battlefields and political arenas. A system engineered by men who faced real swords, real exile, real death, and learned to master the only territory they truly controlled, their own mind. This isn't about positive affirmations or breathing exercises that feel like putting a bandage on a fatal wound. This is about learning to wield the mind like a weapon, not be wielded by it. This is the arsenal of the Stoic, designed to shatter the voice of weakness and reclaim your inner citadel. But this knowledge is not for the passive, it is for the warrior. Before we forge the first weapon, you must prove your commitment to the battle. This is your first test of discipline. Subscribe to this channel and hit the like button. This is not for an algorithm. It is a declaration of intent. It is your signal that you are done being a spectator in your own life. Then, go to the comments and write your declaration of war. It can be simple. My mind is my fortress, or I do not negotiate with weakness. This is your oath, your first conscious act of defiance against the tyranny inside. Do it now. In the minutes that follow, I am going to arm you. I will deliver the 6 brutal laws of Marcus Aurelius, the emperor, the warrior, the philosopher, that will serve as your hammer and anvil. These are not gentle suggestions. They are commands for your mind. They are the keys to demolishing the prison of overthinking, silencing the inner critic, and finally putting an end to the war you've been losing for years. The battle for your mind begins now. Pay attention. Let's name this sickness, warrior. Let's drag it out of the shadows and into the harsh light. This isn't stress. It's not being a deep thinker. It is a modern plague of the soul, a rot that begins in the mind and spreads to every corner of your existence. It is the disease of a mind that has never been taught to fight. You mistake the endless churn of anxiety for intelligence, for conscientiousness. You believe this constant mental friction is the price of being smart. That is the first lie you must burn to the ground. This is not strength. It is a profound, corrosive weakness, a cancer of the will born from too much comfort and not enough war. Your mind has become a battlefield with no commander, and every stray thought has become an enemy combatant you grant full authority. Look at how this internal war ravages your physical vessel. Do you think that storm in your head stays contained? It leaks out, poisoning your body drop by agonizing drop. It's the cortisol flooding your system while you lie awake at 3 a.m., debating a conversation that happened last week. It's the tension knotted in your shoulders, a physical anchor for your mental burdens. It's the shallow breathing, the clenched jaw, the exhaustion that no amount of sleep can cure because your mind never truly rests. Your body is screaming for a ceasefire, but you keep feeding the war. You treat your physical self like a pack mule for your anxieties, and you wonder why it's starting to break under the load. And your work, your craft, the arena where you are meant to build, to create, to conquer, it has become a torture chamber, that project you haven't started. It's not because you're lazy. It's because the thousand-headed hydra of what-if scenarios paralyzes you before you can even draw your sword. You spend 3 hours planning the perfect attack and never throw a single punch. You mistake this paralysis for perfectionism. It is not. It is fear, dressed in the respectable clothes of diligence. Your potential is being bled dry, not by lack of talent, but by an inner critic who vetoes every move before it's made. You are your own worst boss, your own most ruthless saboteur. This poison seeps into the spaces between you and the people you claim to love. You are there, but you are not present. You sit across the table from your partner, your child, your friend, and while they speak, you are a million miles away, lost in a labyrinth of your own making. You nod, you smile, but your eyes are vacant. They feel it. They feel your absence. They feel like they are competing with a ghost for your attention. This mental noise robs you of the only thing that truly matters: connection. You are becoming a phantom in your own life, haunting the periphery of your relationships, and the loneliness you feel is the direct consequence of the fortress you've built in your own mind. You tell yourself this constant worry is a shield, a form of preparation. If I anticipate every failure, the lie whispers, I can prevent it. This is the grandest delusion of the anxious mind. You are not strategizing, you are spiraling. You are not preparing for battle, you are simply rehearsing your own defeat in 1,000 different ways. A true warrior prepares with action, with training, with a mind sharpened to a razor's edge, ready for the present moment. You are just wearing down your blade by grinding it against imaginary threats. You aren't building a defense, you are digging a grave with the shovel of your own thoughts. Perhaps you've tried the modern salves for this wound. The meditation apps you abandon after 3 days because the silence is too loud. The positive affirmations that feel like lies you are screaming into a hurricane. The productivity hacks that just add more complexity to your mental chaos. These are toys, not weapons. They are designed to soothe, to distract, to offer a momentary truce in a war that demands unconditional surrender. They fail because they do not strike at the root of the problem. They are bandages for a disease that requires an amputation. The disease is your belief that you are your thoughts, and here is the cruelest diagnosis of all, warrior. The ultimate cost of this internal chaos is not stress, or a stalled career, or strained relationships. The ultimate cost is your life itself. Every hour you sacrifice to the altar of useless anxiety is an hour of your existence you have willingly set on fire. It is a moment of potential action, of real connection, of raw, unfiltered life that you will never, ever get back. Your life is finite. The clock is ticking, not with a gentle chime, but with the brutal, unforgiving clang of a blacksmith's hammer. While you are lost in the fog of what might be, the reality of what is slips through your fingers, gone forever. The war in your head is stealing. The only thing you truly own, your time, and you are letting it happen. You think this is your own private hell, don't you? This mental chaos, this relentless noise, you believe it's a unique curse of your generation, a byproduct of screens and deadlines and a world that never sleeps. That is a lie. It is the comforting lie of the victim, the one that tells you your struggle is special, that no one has ever faced this before. Let me shatter that illusion for you right now. 2,000 years ago, in the blood-soaked arenas and marble halls of Rome, men were fighting the exact same war. They didn't have notifications, but they had rumors of betrayal. They didn't have social media, but they had the crushing judgment of the Senate. The technology has changed, but the enemy, the untamed human mind, is identical. The Stoics were not just philosophers, they were field surgeons of the soul, and they diagnosed your sickness before your nation was even a thought. They saw that the root of all human misery grows from a single poisoned seed, the failure to distinguish between an event and your judgment about that event. Your mind is constantly bombarded by what they called impressions, raw, unfiltered data from the world. An ambiguous email from your boss is an impression. A strange look from a stranger is an impression. A thought about future failure is an impression. These things are not reality. They are like reports from a scout on the battlefield. Neutral, factual data. Enemy cavalry, spotted on the ridge. That is all. It is neither good nor bad. It is simply information. Your weakness, warrior, is that you treat every scout's report as a declaration of your own defeat. You don't just hear the report. You immediately surrender to the most terrifying story you can build around it. This surrender has a name. The Stoics called it assent. It is the moment you give your agreement to an impression. It is the instant you say yes to the story of fear. When the thought, "I might fail," enters your mind, it is powerless. It is a whisper in the wind. But the moment you assent to it, the moment you agree, "Yes, that is true, I am going to fail, this is a catastrophe," you give it life. You hand it a sword and invite it into your citadel. Every ounce of anxiety you feel is the direct result of your willing consent to a destructive thought. You are not attacked by your thoughts. You are a traitor who willingly opens the gates for them. This is not happening to you. It is a decision you are making, moment by agonizing moment. Now, look at your modern world through this ancient lens. Your phone, your feeds, the endless stream of news and opinions. This is a machine engineered for the sole purpose of overwhelming you with impressions. It is a relentless propaganda engine designed to provoke your assent. Every notification is a test. Every headline is a lure. Every curated image of someone else's success is an invitation to agree with the thought, "I am not enough." The Roman Stoics fought gossip and political maneuvering. You fight an algorithm designed to hijack your deepest insecurities. The scale of the attack is greater, but the point of failure is the same. Your unguarded mind, your undisciplined assent. You are giving your power away for free to a machine that profits from your anxiety. This is why you are trapped in the prison of overthinking. You are trying to command a territory that was never yours to begin with. The Stoics were brutal pragmatists. They understood that the vast majority of life is outside your control. You cannot control what other people think. You cannot control the economy. You cannot control tomorrow's outcome. Your anxiety is the friction created by a mind desperately trying to grab smoke. It is the tantrum of a will that refuses to accept reality. A warrior does not waste energy fighting the storm. He focuses his entire being on commanding his ship. You have abandoned the helm of your own mind to go scream at the waves, and now you wonder why you are sinking. The great Stoic emperor, Marcus Aurelius, understood this better than anyone. He ruled the known world, yet he knew his true kingdom was the space between an impression and his response to it. He called this your hegemonicon, your ruling faculty, your inner citadel. This is the commander's tent in the center of the battlefield. By nature, it is impenetrable. No external event, no person, no misfortune can ever breach its walls. It can only fall one way, from the inside. When you assent to fear, when you indulge in anxiety, when you allow an external event to dictate your internal state, you are the traitor lowering the drawbridge. Your suffering is not a measure of the world's cruelty. It is a measure of your own lack of discipline in defending the one fortress you truly command. So, let's be clear about this diagnosis, warrior. The problem is not that you have negative thoughts. Everyone has those. Even the sages. The problem is that you believe you are your thoughts. You have forgotten that you are the commander, not the terrified soldier whispering rumors of defeat in the barracks. The ancient Stoics saw this flaw in human nature with perfect clarity. This isn't a modern psychological disorder. It is the ancient, timeless consequence of an untrained mind. It is the result of abdicating your throne. The good news? The throne is still there. It is waiting for its rightful ruler to return, pick up the scepter of discipline, and restore order to the kingdom. The war is not against the thoughts, it is for the throne. Enough diagnosis. The time for understanding your sickness is over. Now we begin the amputation. We forge the first weapon. This is not a theory. It is a law as immutable and unforgiving as gravity. It is the bedrock upon which every Stoic fortress is built, and if you fail to grasp this, you will remain a slave for the rest of your life. Listen closely, warrior. Carve this into the walls of your mind. The first brutal law: you do not control the world, you only control your response to it. That is it. That is the beginning and the end of all wisdom. Every ounce of your suffering, every moment of your anxiety is born from your delusional attempt to violate this single, unbreakable command. You have been living a lie, a deep, fundamental lie that tells you your feelings are a direct result of external events. The boss's email made you anxious. The traffic made you angry. The news made you despair. This is the narrative of a victim. It is the whining of a child who believes the world owes him comfort. The Stoics knew this was a slave's mentality. An event is just an event. It is a neutral, lifeless fact. It has no inherent power over you. The power is granted by you, and only you, in the sacred, silent space between the event happening and you deciding what it means. You are not a victim of your feelings. You are the willing author of them. Let's give this a name. The Stoics called these external events impressions, but that word is too soft for our purposes. Think of them as incoming signals, enemy intelligence reports. A notification on your phone is a signal. A critical comment from a coworker is a signal. A thought of your own future failure is a signal. They are raw data, nothing more. They are flashes of light on a radar screen. By themselves, they are meaningless. They have no authority. They cannot breach the walls of your inner citadel. They can only knock at the gate and wait for the commander, for you to decide whether to let them in. Your problem is that you have no guards at the gate. You have left it wide open, and you are letting every rumor, every spy, and every stray dog wander in and set fire to your throne room. This decision at the gate is called assent. It is the most powerful weapon you possess, and you have been giving it away for free your entire life. To assent is to agree with the story an impression tells you. When the signal of ambiguous email arrives, the story it whispers is, "You are in trouble. You are about to be fired. You are a failure." This story is a lie. It is a phantom. It is powerless. But the moment you assent, the moment you nod your head and say, "Yes, that is true," you give that phantom a body, a sword, and the keys to your kingdom. You are the one who transforms a neutral signal into a monster. Anxiety is not something that happens to you. It is the friction burn you get from willingly embracing a destructive lie. Let's make this real. That email from your boss lands in your inbox at 4:57 p.m. The subject line is just tomorrow. The old you, the slave, immediately assents. You agree with the story of catastrophe. Your heart rate spikes, your stomach churns. You spend the next 4 hours rehearsing your own firing, your mind a whirlwind of defensive arguments and worst-case scenarios. You have surrendered your entire evening to a ghost. Now, the warrior. The signal arrives. Tomorrow. You observe it. You recognize the story it is trying to sell you, the story of fear, and you make a conscious, deliberate choice. You withhold assent. You say, "This is just a signal. I do not have enough information to form a judgment. I will not surrender my peace to a phantom." You close the laptop and go about your evening, your mind calm, your fortress secure. The event was identical. The response was the difference between slavery and freedom. Do you see the cost of ignoring this law? When you fail to guard your assent, you become a puppet. Every external event, every person's opinion, every headline, every stray thought becomes your master. You live in a state of constant, reactive chaos. Your internal state is not determined by your own will, but by the random noise of the world. You are a ship with no captain, tossed about by every wave, at the mercy of every shift in the wind. This is not living. It is a pathetic, degrading existence. A warrior commands his ship. He may not command the storm, but he commands his response to it. He holds the rudder with an iron grip, and he chooses his course, not because the sea is calm, but because his will is stronger than the water. This is your first command, warrior. From this moment forward, you will become the ruthless guardian of your own mind. You will stand at the gate of your inner citadel, and you will inspect every single impression that seeks entry. Before you allow any thought or feeling to take root, you will challenge it with a simple, brutal question. Is this within my control or outside of it? If it is outside your control, another person's action, a past event, a future uncertainty, you will deny it entry. You will refuse to assent. You will recognize it for what it is, a signal, a noise, a ghost with no power over you. This is not a suggestion, it is your new reality. The battle for your mind is not won by fighting your thoughts. It is won by deciding which thoughts are worthy of. Fighting for. Start guarding the gate now. So you have the law, a piece of cold, hard steel, but a sword on the wall is just an ornament, warrior. It is useless until it has been tempered in fire and tested in blood. This is the forge. This is where we separate the philosopher from the warrior. The law, you only control your response, is meaningless until you apply it to the chaos of your life. It is time to take this principle and use it to hammer your soul into a weapon. We will not speak of hypotheticals. We will speak of the fire you are walking through right now, the rage, the pain, the crushing weight of your own inertia. This is where the transformation begins. Pay attention. Let's start with the fire of anger. Another driver cuts you off, nearly causing a collision. The old you, the slave, would surrender instantly. The impression of disrespect would arrive, and you would assent without a thought. The story? That person intentionally endangered me. They have no respect. The world is full of idiots. Your heart pounds, you curse. Your entire nervous system is hijacked. Your mood is ruined for the next hour, all because of a stranger you will never see again. You gave a complete unknown the power to dictate your internal state. Now the warrior. The car cuts you off. The impression arrives. Disrespect, danger. You stand guard at the gate. You challenge it. Is this driver's incompetence within my control? No. Is my response? Entirely. You refuse to assent to the story of rage. You see it for what it is, bad driving, a neutral event. You maintain your course, your breath steady, your mind a calm fortress. You have just taken what was once a source of poison and turned it into an opportunity to practice your discipline. You did not control the event, but you achieved total victory over yourself. Now, let's walk into a deeper fire: pain. Whether it is the chronic ache in your body or the sharp agony of loss, pain is a fact of a warrior's life. The slave's response is to add a second, self-inflicted wound. The first arrow is the pain itself, the physical sensation, the reality of the loss. That is outside your control. But the slave immediately assents to a story about the pain and fires a second arrow into his own heart. The story is, "This is unbearable, this is unfair, my life is ruined because of this." This second arrow, your judgment, your story of suffering, is 1,000 times more venomous than the first. The Stoic warrior feels the strike of the first arrow. He acknowledges it. There is pain, he states, with brutal honesty, but he refuses with every fiber of his being to pick up the second arrow. He withholds assent from the story of victimhood. He focuses only on what he can control, how he endures, the dignity with which he carries his burden, the strength he forges in this very fire. The pain is a reality, but the suffering is a choice. You will learn to choose differently. What about the most insidious enemy? The quiet, creeping fog of sloth, the inertia that chains you to the couch when you know you must act. The impression arrives not as a shout, but as a whisper. This is too hard. You're tired. Do it tomorrow. You need to feel motivated first. The slave assents to this lie every time. He waits for the feeling of inspiration, a feeling that may never come, while his potential rots. The warrior knows this feeling for what it is, a phantom, a suggestion from the weaker part of himself that craves only comfort. He knows that discipline is not the absence of this feeling, but action in spite of it. He hears the whisper, "I don't want to," and he stands up. He takes one step. He does the smallest possible part of the task. He knows that action is the antidote to despair. Action is the hammer that shatters the chains of inertia. Motivation is not a cause, it is a consequence. It is the reward you earn after you have already won the battle against your own weakness. Now the final test, the one you face every day. The ambiguous email from your boss arrives at 5 p.m. The subject, "We need to talk." The slave mind instantly collapses. The impression of professional threat breaches the gates, and you assent to the most catastrophic story imaginable. For the next 16 hours, you are a prisoner in your own mind, rehearsing your firing, defending your actions, living in a hell of your own creation. But you are not a slave anymore. You are a warrior. The signal arrives. You feel the initial jolt of panic, the impression. But you are standing guard. You activate the watchtower. You pause. You breathe. You label the thought dispassionately, impression of future failure, a story, a phantom. And then you speak the most powerful words a human can utter. "I withhold my assent." You refuse to agree. You decline the invitation to panic. You turn your attention back to the present task, the only thing you control. The internal chaos is neutralized, not because the threat wasn't potentially real, but because you refuse to surrender your inner peace to a ghost. You chose to remain the commander of your own mind. Do you see it now, warrior? This is the earth-shattering truth they never taught you. Your anxious thoughts are not commands. They are not reality. They are suggestions. They are proposals from a primitive, fear-based part of your brain that is still trying to survive on the savannah. Your inner critic is not a god whose judgment is final. It is a panicked advisor in your war room, screaming about every shadow, proposing retreat at every turn. For your entire life, you have been treating this advisor as the emperor. The Stoic revolution is the moment you realize you are the emperor. You have absolute, unquestionable veto power. You can listen to the proposal. Let's panic about this email for the rest of the night. And you can calmly and firmly say, proposal denied. We have a fortress to command. This is not a life free from problems. It is a life free from the self-inflicted torture about those problems. The world will still throw its spears. People will still be unpredictable. Loss will still come. But you will no longer meet these challenges with a mind already at war with itself. Your energy, once squandered on fighting shadows and rehearsing disasters, is now a focused, unified force, ready to be deployed on what is real, on what is in front of you, on what is within your control. You will make decisions with clarity, not from a place of fear. You will act with purpose, not from a state of frantic reaction. The prison door was never locked. You were simply convinced you had to stay inside. Now you hold the key. The transformation has begun. You are no longer the prisoner. You are the guard. And so you step out of the forge, changed. Look around you, warrior. The world is the same. The deadlines are still there. The people are still unpredictable. The chaos still churns. But the one thing that has been fundamentally, irrevocably altered is the landscape inside your own skull. Do you feel it? The silence. It's not an empty silence. It's not the absence of thought. It is the silence of a well-commanded fortress after a battle has been won. The frantic, screaming narrator has been demoted. His voice is now a whisper, and you are no longer obligated to listen. The 100 open browser tabs have been closed. There is only one window open now, the present moment. This is the first reward of your discipline, a mind that is a sanctuary, not a war zone. Your actions now flow from a different source. Remember the paralysis? The hours spent agonizing over a simple decision, trapped in a web of 1,000 what-ifs? That person is dead. He was a casualty of the forge. Now clarity is your default state, because you no longer waste 99% of your energy fighting imaginary demons. You have a tidal wave of power to unleash on what is real. Decisions become swift, not because you are reckless, but because you are focused. You see the objective, you identify what is within your control, and you strike. The energy that once fed your anxiety now fuels your discipline. You are no longer a thinker who is afraid to act. You are a warrior who acts from a place of profound thought. You have become an engine of focused intent in a world of scattered distraction. Look at your own reflection. The change is not just behind the eyes, it is etched into your very physical being. The tension that once knotted your shoulders like chains has been released. The shallow breathing of a cornered animal has been replaced by the deep, steady rhythm of a commander surveying his domain. You sleep now, a true restorative sleep, because the war in your head no longer follows you into the darkness. Your body, once a dumping ground for the poison of cortisol and adrenaline produced by phantom threats, is now what it was always meant to be: a weapon, an instrument, a vessel of strength, not a container for stress. You are no longer at war with your own biology. You have signed a peace treaty, and the terms were unconditional surrender of your weakness. This newfound presence ripples outward, fundamentally altering your relationships. Before, you were a ghost at your own dinner table, a phantom in your own conversations. Your loved ones spoke to a shell, while the real you was lost in a labyrinth of future anxieties and past regrets. Now, you are here, fully. When you listen, you are not simply waiting for your turn to speak. You are a fortress of attention, offering the rare and powerful gift of your undivided presence. People feel this. They feel the stillness in you, the unshakable core. You become an anchor for them in their own storms, not because you offer easy advice, but because your very being demonstrates that inner peace is possible, even when the world is on fire. You no longer seek connection to escape yourself. You connect because you finally have a self worth sharing. The very concept of a problem has been reforged. The old you saw the world as a relentless series of threats to be managed, a minefield of potential disasters. You are constantly reacting, bracing, flinching. The warrior you have become sees things with brutal clarity. You see events and you see your choices. That is all. The world loses its power to terrorize you. An insult is not an attack. It is just sound waves, and your assent is not required. A setback is not a catastrophe. It is a piece of intelligence, a lesson from the battlefield to be integrated into your strategy. You have stopped trying to control the uncontrollable, and in that surrender, you have found the only true power there is, absolute command over your own inner world. You are the eye of the storm. The winds may howl, but your center remains unmoved. Fear has not vanished. A warrior who feels no fear is a fool, but your relationship with it has been transformed. Fear is no longer your master. It is not a chain that binds you to inaction. Now, fear is simply data. It is a signal from the primitive part of your brain saying, "This matters. Pay attention here." You feel it, you acknowledge it, you thank it for the information, and then you act anyway. You use it as a compass, pointing you directly toward the battle you need to fight, the conversation you need to have, the risk you need to take. The thing that once paralyzed you has become the very instrument of your growth. You have learned to walk toward the roar, not because you are reckless, but because you know the fortress within you is strong enough to withstand whatever you find. This is the new you, warrior, not a happier person. Happiness is a fleeting emotion, a fair weather friend. You have forged something harder, more durable. You are a resilient being. Your self-worth is no longer tied to the opinions of others or the outcomes of your efforts. It is forged daily in the crucible of your own discipline, in the quiet integrity of commanding your own mind. You did not learn a trick to defeat overthinking. You learned the fundamental truth that shattered the prison itself. The war was only real because you kept showing up for the battle. The inner critic was only a tyrant because you kept bowing to his throne. Now, you are the throne. You have reclaimed your sovereignty. The fight is over, not because you won, but because you finally understood it was an invitation you were always free to decline. You have the law. You have seen the enemy. You have felt the steel of this new discipline in your hands, but a sword is just a piece of metal until it tastes battle. A law is just a string of words until it is enforced. Now, we move from the forge to the training ground. I'm going to give you your first practical drill. This is not a meditation to calm you down. This is a combat exercise to sharpen your mind. It is called the Watchtower, and it is the ritual you will use to turn the abstract principle of withholding assent into a lethal daily practice. This is where the war is won, not in grand moments of crisis, but in these small, disciplined acts of defiance against your own weakness. Pay attention, warrior. This is your new weapon. Find a place to sit, now. I don't care where. Your desk chair, the floor, the edge of your bed. This is not about comfort. It is about command. Set a timer for 2 minutes. That's it. 120 seconds. If you tell me you don't have 2 minutes, you have already surrendered to the lie that your time is not your own. For these 2 minutes, you are the sentry. Your only job is to stand guard at the gate of your mind. Close your eyes or fix your gaze on a single point in front of you. Your body is still, but your mind is on high alert. You are not trying to empty your mind. That is a fool's errand. A fortress is never empty. It is guarded. You are here to inspect every single thing that approaches the gate. Now the scouts will appear. They always do. You thought about that deadline. A memory of an awkward conversation, a surge of anxiety about a future event. These are the impressions. Your old self would have immediately run out to meet them, either to fight them or to invite them in for a feast of panic. The sentry does neither. The sentry simply observes. You will watch these thoughts rise on the horizon of your consciousness, and you will do nothing. You will not follow them. You will not argue with them. You will not believe them. You will Simply see them for what they are: signals, movement in the distance, data, nothing more. This is the first act of power, to see a thought and not become it. This is the critical step, warrior. As each thought scout approaches, you will label it. You will do this silently, with the cold, detached precision of an intelligence officer filing a report. The thought, "What if I get fired tomorrow?" is no longer a personal terror. It is now. Report. Impression of future failure. The thought, "She must think I'm an idiot," becomes report. Impression of social judgment. A surge of anger at something someone said becomes report. Proposal for rage. Do you see what you are doing? You are stripping the thought of its emotional camouflage. You are defanging the snake. You are turning a would-be tyrant into a simple, categorized piece of data. It has no power over you because you have refused to grant it any. After you label the report, you practice the final, most important act of command. You consciously withhold your assent. You see the impression of future failure, and you make a deliberate internal statement. Report noted, assent denied. You acknowledge the proposal for rage, and you declare proposal rejected. You are exercising your authority as the commander of your own mind. You are not suppressing the thought. You are simply refusing to sign the order that gives it power. You are letting the scout deliver his message, and then you are sending him away. Without letting him pass the gate, you are the emperor, and this is your veto power in action. Your 2 minutes are up. Open your eyes. That feeling you have right now, that quiet space, that sense of being the observer rather than the victim of your own mind. That is freedom. That is the first taste of what it means to be the master of your inner citadel. This is not a one-time fix. This is your daily drill. Every single day you will mount the watchtower. You will practice this observation, this labeling, this refusal. It will feel awkward at first. Your mind will rebel. But with every repetition, you are forging a new neural pathway. You are building the muscle of discipline. This 2-minute ritual is the single most important battle you will fight all day. Do not skip it. The warrior trains when he doesn't feel like it because he knows the war does not wait for his convenience. Your training starts now. The forge is quiet, the fire is banked, but the steel in your hands is still. Glowing. Look at it. This is your mind, reforged. The war you thought was your destiny, the endless, grinding conflict against your own thoughts is over. Not because you found a magic weapon to achieve a final victory, but because you learned the most brutal truth of all. The war was a lie. It was a civil war, an insurgency staged by the weakest part of yourself, and you were its willing foot soldier. You have now seen the traitor for what he is. You have reclaimed the throne. The noise of the world has not changed, but you are no longer obligated to answer its summons. You have achieved the only victory that matters, command of the self. Let us review your arsenal, for a warrior's weapons must be kept sharp. First, the law of command. You do not control the world, only your response to it. This is the bedrock of your fortress. Second, the power of assent. You are the sole guardian of the gate. No thought, no impression, no fear enters your citadel without your explicit permission. You learn to deny entry to the phantoms that once held you hostage. Finally, the watchtower, your daily drill, the 2 minutes of ruthless vigilance where you practice observing, labeling, and rejecting the proposals of your weaker self. These are not theories. They are the hammer, the anvil, and the quench of your new existence. This is not a life free from pain, warrior. It is a life free from suffering. The world will still throw its spears. There will be loss. There will be hardship. There will be chaos. But you will no longer meet the storm with a mind already broken by a storm of its own making. Your energy, once squandered on fighting shadows, is now a focused, unified force to be deployed on what is real and what is in your control. You will act with a clarity that terrifies those who live in the fog. You will endure with a stillness that baffles those who are tossed by every wave. You have not become invulnerable. You have become unbreakable. And so, here is your final decree. The words you will carve into the walls of your inner citadel, the command that will echo in the silence you have earned. Your mind is not a public square for every stray thought to shout in. It is a throne room, and it has only one ruler. Act accordingly. This is the new law of your land. There are no negotiations. There are no appeals. There is only your command and the discipline to enforce it, moment by agonizing, glorious moment. If this battle has ignited the forge within you, then prove it now. Go to the comments and write the single command that will rule your next 24 hours. Make it your decree. Share this war horn with another warrior who is fighting their battle in silence. Subscribe and commit to returning to the forge. The discipline is daily. The war for your potential is eternal. We will see you on the battlefield.